Some viewers may find the use of cuss words in this video to be offensive. Others won't give a shit. You've been warned. The Underground. This phrase drives us batshit crazy.
Hi, and welcome to the Underground Podcast. My name is Scott McKinley, and I have the pleasure of being here with my boys. This is to my left, Big Daddy.
Sean Hales.
And to the right, we have Howie.
Rick Howard.
I'm Mac. At least you might hear us from time to time over the next however long you want to listen to this show. You might hear us refer to us as Mac, Big Daddy, Howie. But a lot of people also know us as the Underground, and that's what this is all about, is kind of introducing ourselves, giving those of you going, why would we watch this? Who are you guys? We get it. We understand. But we are guys that met on a mission back in 1993 and have been best friends ever since. We have been through some adventures together. We have gone through some shifts in paradigms. We have been in positions where we were active members of a religion and are now no longer part of that. And what we wanted to do with this little presentation that we're bringing to you is kind of come up with a way to reach out to those people who we know are probably in very familiar situations to where we've been in the past, and we understand what that's like.
Why don't we talk a little bit about why each of us... I mean, it's been a cumulative thing to make this podcast, so why don't we just talk a little bit about why each of us want to do it. Personally, for myself, so one of the common themes between all of us is that we all grew up in pretty religious families. Grew up in strong religious families.
Devout, I think, is the word that I think of.
We all, growing up in the church that we did, our whole lives pretty much were geared towards preparing and then going on a mission, which is, like Scott said, where we met. But then eventually we kind of have all gone through transitions from that organized religion to where we're at now. And that can be different for everybody, of course, whether...
It's actually different for all three of us. We all have a different story of how that happened.
So, and we talk to other people, and I know I've had a couple people, at least, when they hear about the idea, saying, you guys need to...
You guys have got to tell your story, right? I mean, many of the people that I talk to that hear the story, and they...
Well...
Kind of give you that seat back...
So we need to make it clear. These people don't know what the story is.
It's
it's
crazy ass fucked up story.
He's referring to our mission story, and we're not going to get into that right now.
But we will.
That's a whole nother episode.
A little bit of foreshadowing.
But that's what this is about. Is we went through this thing. We had this experience together. We served, and for this religion that we bled for, that we gave our lives to, like Rick was just saying, that we were raised completely devout and went through just a crazy time together, but that also projected us into our adult lives where we started making decisions for ourselves.
And based off of our own thoughts and feelings, right? Because that's where a lot of those beliefs came from, previous to this transition, they all came from our parents. They all came from teachers growing up. And we finally got to the point where we were ready to make our own decisions about things. And that's kind of, not especially, but at least for me, that's where my transition all started, when I finally realized, wait a minute, all of these things that I've been believing and living my life according to up until now, and until now was when I was probably 23, 24 years old. But that's when I finally realized, wait a minute, those weren't really my beliefs. Those weren't really my thoughts. Those are things that I just picked up growing up. I know.
Which is crazy because they were your thoughts. Like, I remember just being like, this is what I believe. Yeah. Telling people with just the most passion. I believe this. And then just getting older, and no offense to our parents, they were just doing what they thought they were supposed to do because somebody did it with them.
Because that's what they were told.
Right? It was their paradigm.
Just a waterfall effect.
What we're talking about here is a huge paradigm shift in the aspect of religion. And we know there's other people, be it Jehovah's Witnesses or Catholics or Scientology. I mean,
religion in general.
We're here in Utah.
I was just going to say, we do want this to be non-specific to any denomination, because we know there's people of all different types of organized religion that go through this transition. But the fact that we all live in Utah, we all came from a Mormon background, obviously there's going to be a lot of that involved from that perspective.
But if you're watching this and you're, a member of a different organization in a different country, but can hear the things that we're talking about, and you can go, that's exactly what I'm going through, and I just haven't known what to do. Because you can't talk to your family about it, because I can give you a list of what they'll tell you as far as their responses as to what's wrong with you. And it's not them listening to understand, it's listening to, they have been conditioned
to regurgitate.
And they're just going to... So we're not here to bash any religion. We're not here to bash any beliefs, people. This is coming completely from a place of agape love, where we're putting stuff aside and we're just trying to create a little bit of a forum for those people that are out there that are struggling and are suffering. And it's not necessary, because there's a lot more people out there that are dealing with it. And if you can have a conversation with people about it, you can manage those feelings. We're going to talk about strategies. Big Daddy over here is like a very interested beginner meditator that has really shifted and found a way to quiet his mind, but more importantly, tell his ego to shut the hell up. And we're going to be talking about what he does and how he's found ways to still have spirituality in his life.
Yeah, because that's obviously, something I think that's important for a lot of people is, wanting to have more or less that comfort of believing in a God or something, to a higher power, right? So I think that...
Well, because when you leave the religion, it's like, I remember just feeling like I'd been bleached.
Sure.
And I went dark. Like, I went to just a dark place. And I'm not saying a dark place like psychologically. I was still happy. I was still fun to be around. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple of years that I was a bit of a dick.
And some of those stories may resurface.
Remember, we said we're not going to be mean to anybody or criticize. We're not going to beat anybody up. We're going to beat the shit out of each other. And you can watch, but we're doing it coming from a place because we love each other. These are my brothers, and that's what brothers do. But more importantly, we know that if we help one person, like that's it, one person. If one person watches this and we can save joy in somebody's life, and I'm not trying to say it's us, but it's just them being able to have a connection with somebody.
We've talked about this before, about how we feel like that the world has been going through kind of an awakening when it comes to spirituality, and that is very prevalent here. We're in Salt Lake City area of Utah, and that's been very prevalent, and that's been sort of the whole thing. Is we've been through experiences. Hopefully other people that might see this will feel like they're not the only ones going through it, because it can be difficult, especially
it's a bitch
when you talk about family members who are very staunch in their beliefs and don't see any room for other ways of thinking or beliefs,
and being really that only one, and kind of looking for the first time from the outside in. And you look around and you're like, I don't want to be in this place or this position by myself, right?
And you are, and you're alone.
Yeah.
You're by yourself.
So hopefully if somebody sees this and thinks, hey, I'm not alone, these guys have been through this, there's other, we're hoping to have, not hoping, we will have some of our other friends and people that we know that have gone through that transition, but hopefully somebody can just see this and think, hey, I'm not the only person who's ever gone through this.
So here's why the underground. We've alluded to this mission story that we went through, this experience that you're going to hear about. It's a cool story.
It's a long one.
It's taken us days before. Rick and I have worked together since 1995.
I mean, this was over an 18 to 22 month period of time. So there's a lot to fill in the gaps.
Well,
so.
we're talking specifically about the ending part.
We
We'll
would
get
be
there.
we would be just at work telling people about it, and like it'd be 6 o'clock, and we'd be like, and we'll have to finish this story tomorrow. You remember that?
Yeah.
Amber Baker, the touchdown maker.
Well, we're definitely going to get into that story later, but the point being is that why the underground? Well, while we were on our mission, we got to a point where we weren't very happy with what was going on. We weren't just following the lead just to follow the lead.
Can I interject? It's not what we were just starting to see some shit. Just starting to see some things that just didn't make sense.
And you start to question, right?
The things just didn't make sense, and it was going, wait a minute. I'm getting to the point where I want to start having a say in what's going on. It's my life, and I don't agree with this. I don't agree with what you're doing. What you're doing is not what I was thinking was the reason I was coming out here to be a missionary in the first place. I mean, those of you from Utah, you know the song. And a one, and a two, and a...
The point is that we just got unhappy with what was going on.
We started seeing bullshit and just went...
So we got kind of known within the leadership of our mission as troublemakers and got labeled the underground.
Well, the one thing, too, is when I say questioning, I mean, in a situation like that, you don't really just question, like, authority or question policy or anything like that, right?
There was some policy I was questioning.
Oh, no, that's
what I was questioning.
That's what I'm saying. You're not supposed to question.
Oh, you're not supposed to. Right,
Yeah,
right.
but
You're supposed to just, you're supposed to take everything in and just do it because it's what you're supposed to do.
Like you're a robot. They just wanted you to just do what they told you. Don't ask questions. If you ask questions, you were a rebel. I was called...
And we ask questions.
We just don't ask those questions.
I was called apostate.
Yeah.
Because I was going...
That's not the worst you've been called, let's be honest.
No, but to be a missionary and to have some fucking 21-year-old guy walk into your house and look at your shit and look at you and go, you're apostate. And be like, well, then what the fuck am I doing here? If I'm apostate, why am I here? Because I wasn't doing anything wrong. I just had a different opinion about things. And I started getting pissed off about it. And so did a bunch of other people. And the people that got pissed off got labeled the underground. And today, it's just one of those things that we look back on and go...
Long story short, it led to us being sent home.
Together.
With two other guys that I'm sure we'll have on the show at some point. But yeah, we get sent home by a general authority. By a general authority?
We've been,
by the way, I think it's important to note that when we got home, we got apologies from the church's leadership. We got honorable releases. So that's part of why it's such a crazy story. But we'll get into that later.
But that's where the name The Underground comes from.
We come home with two other guys, and yeah, we're known as The Underground forevermore. And so we've kind of embraced it. We've embraced that title of The Underground. And so when we started talking about doing a podcast, there was really no other name.
Yeah.
In fact, I there was actually another name. I thought of another name, and then I think you were the one that said The Underground. I was like, oh yeah, duh, it has to be that. But it was just obvious.
I orchestrated The Underground.
Yeah. And I did all the work.
No, I'm talking about the real one.
This is
typical. The one in Australia. The one in Australia. The one that I ruled over.
Yeah.
I orchestrated that.
What was that? The king?
Well, that was what I was called.
Were you given the designation?
I was told, yes.
All right.
I guess I was the secretary. What were you?
I was just along for the ride.
You were one of
Ah,
our
no,
last.
No, he was the security, man. Hales was the security. You didn't want to fuck with Hales because
There's a
Hales
reason
was.
we
We
call
called
him
it
Big
Big
Daddy.
Daddy.
And what was funny was
I've got a picture. I want you to find a way to put it on the screen. Can you edit that and do that? I've got a picture of me and you standing together, and like I'm trying to blow up my 147-pound chest in front of Sean,
Against
and he's just
somebody
towering
who
over me.
a little healthy back then, right?
Sean hasn't weighed 147 since he was in elementary school.
Since probably
Sixth
the
grade.
fifth, maybe fifth grade.
By the mission, he was probably two of you.
Are you serious?
Which picture?
grade?
I'm sure. I think I was $150.
He's also taller than I'm sure he was taller than most of the
Oh
kids
no,
in
no,
school.
I was.
You can
I
see in the
wasn't-
picture.
I wasn't a fat kid.
No.
But
Husky.
I was husky.
Big bones.
It was the big. Right?
He's been putting up with this shit since 1993. That's the crazy thing. No, 94. 1994. We met in 94.
Yeah, February.
We met in 94. We didn't meet till 95. But
I mean, the first day.
no, we did meet in 94 at the Christmas conference.
I don't know that we met that day.
Yeah, we did.
might have.
We played
might have
SEPA.
entered. Okay.
I think we played SEPA that day.
All right, so we've gotten a little bit
SEPA.
off track.
SEPA is not a crime, Chad Wilden. SEPA is not a crime.
So that's why this is called the Underground.
Here we are.
That's where that title comes from.
So here we are. So you at the beginning you said, I want to kind of go through and talk about why each one of us wants to do this.
We've done a little bit about that,
Right.
But yeah, we could maybe go through a little bit more detail.
I just want to. I mean, I've seen people that have been really close friends of mine go through it. I went through it back in 1996. I know what it's like if you don't have friends. I know what it's like when you're going solo as the black sheep in the family, when you are the only one. And it's crazy how much I didn't even really think about what I was going through when I was going through it. Almost, I had to make myself totally numb to it. That's the only way I can describe it. I just had to act like I didn't care, like it wasn't a big deal, and I was like just ice.
Yeah.
So you have to try and convince yourself, because so the way it worked for me is there was a lot of guilt for me.
At first, or how long?
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I think Skip is somebody you'll definitely learn about and see at some point. But that's why Skip and I got so close together, because we went through it at the same time. We went through it for years, where we thought, we're going through this phase that most people go through in high school. Eventually, we're gonna get out of that phase.
You guys called it your college.
It was a
phase,
college,
right?
yeah. We were going through the phase that we felt most people we knew went through it in high school, but we didn't. So we went through it later, after we got home from our missions and we're going to school. And so and this happened. I mean, there was several years where I felt a lot of guilt, and that was partially myself. That was partially family members that I allowed to make me feel guilty. And so that I convinced myself that basically trying to get rid of that guilt. I was saying, you know what, it's okay for now. I'll be going back. Everything will be good once I get back and have the white picket fence. And
This is the
family
crazy
and everything.
thing, is that it wasn't even you thinking that. It was the program. It was the subconscious program going, you're supposed to feel guilty right now.
But-
you're supposed to feel guilty,
And
and
so
it sounds like you, and so it's you're being torn in
But-
two different directions.
But like you said, you get to a point where you feel that guilt, and so you try to convince yourself that it's not there at the beginning.
And it was interesting because you talk about guilt. I guess I go back to what you were saying, kind of feeling numb, right? Because you've just gone through an experience that not a lot of people go through, especially in,
Are you talking about the mission?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But even after, like after coming home, right? And
Especially when we went, like I said, I think nowadays it's a little bit more prevalent with this awakening we've talked about. But back then, it was kind of.
How many years ago was that
that we've been home.
that we
12.
went? 93. It's
93,
2020.
95.
Yeah.
That's
so-
27 years.
I'm not the mathematician.
Yeah, Rick, come on.
That's
It's
27
yeah.
years.
Yeah.
27
Oh
years. Come November for me.
So October 6th is the kind of a big day for me. That's the same day that I had my name. I dropped the envelope in the mailbox and had my name taken off the record. So I remember just thinking, wow, October 6th, 1993, 27 years ago, because this was in 2016, but I just remember thinking how long ago, and I was stepping into that world of going on a mission, and here I am taking my name off the church records. Anyhow.
It's pretty ironic.
Yeah.
It happened on the same day.
Day.
It was poignant for me.
Poignant?
The most spit beer everywhere.
It was poignant. So, anyways, here's what we thought would be kind of cool is just so you get to understand where this vibe is coming from, where this energy is coming from. We just want to talk a little bit about how we met.
When did you guys first meet?
So I'd gotten
because I didn't know him.
I'm curious if you remember this.
I did.
Do you remember where we met?
Yeah, because I'd gone out January of '94, and we were at a regional.
January of '94.
Yeah, because I went in December of '93.
So that's when you got to Australia.
That's when I got to.
Because for those of you that don't know, if you're not members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, you go to the Mission Training Center. They call it the.
You get called on your mission. Before you go to wherever you've been called for your mission, which is 2 years.
Before you get called, you hope they call you on a mission.
God.
And that's a song.
Anyhow, before you actually leave the States or leave Utah to go wherever it is you're going, where you're going to be stationed for your 2 years, you go to what's called the Missionary Training Center, which for us is in Provo, Utah.
So
that's when you went in, but then you didn't get. Oh, you were saying it for those of you who don't know. Was that just about the MTC?
No, just going to tell those people that are not of that faith to understand.
So you were in the MTC for December and then got there in January. Gotcha.
Yeah, correct.
So
when I got out there, you were
out for a couple months because I had just come from Tasmania. I'd been down in Tasmania.
You wanted to see if he knew the story or where you met.
Oh, yeah. Do you know where we met?
I do. At the regional conference where they brought all the missionaries in. It was February.
No. We met at a Mongolian barbecue. I was...
Oh, in the city.
You were with Dridge.
Yeah.
You'll meet Dridge.
He was way off. Dridge is instead.
You were way off.
I had just come up from Tasmania. I'd been down in Tasmania for 5 months. Just come up to the mainland. And I remember feeling like... I remember feeling like I was in America in 1950s. I felt like happy days.
I didn't know. I don't know about the 1950s. I told everybody it felt like going back in time about 10 years.
Well, yeah, okay. But you didn't go to Tasmania.
No, I didn't.
Which
Tasmania?
Yeah, you and I never got.
Tasmania was like super. I mean, no offense to my Tassie friends, but it was just a different world for me. Coming up, they had a fucking 7-Eleven. We didn't have 7-Elevens. I got a Slurpee. That's like the first thing I did. I'd heard about Slurpees on the mainland. And I was like, the first thing I'm going to do is get me a Slurpee. And I did. Came from the airport and I was like, will you please go to 7-Eleven?
So you met at a Szechuan...
Anyways, yes. No, a Mongolian
barbecue restaurant?
I was serving with Huffner, the D.A. Ruffner. We met there. You were serving with Dridge.
Yeah.
And I was like so excited to see Holdridge. And there you were.
Yeah, because I was thinking that was with Mortimer, but yeah, it was with Ridge, wasn't it?
But the crazy thing is like that's where we met, but where we really like connected.
Wasn't it the regional conference? I remember seeing
it was
conference.
Maybe you saw me at the regional conference, but where we really connected.
What regional conference?
I don't know. I didn't go to regional conferences.
You didn't?
I went to the assistant of the regional conference. But I stayed away from the regional conference.
Okay, anyhow.
Where we really formed our relationship and the flag will come into play. And you're going to hear stories about us talk about this connection that we have with this music. But
okay, so you guys meet at the Mongolia barbecue place.
No, I'm about to tell the story of where the connection comes into play.
What connect to Pearl Jam?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, you said that.
It was
set it up like it's going to come later.
No, I'm telling it right now.
Right, we're in the city.
Stay tuned.
P-Day in Melbourne.
No, yeah.
Cloudy day, rainy day. Yeah. Get there. gosh, I don't even remember who I was serving with. But you and I were, I'm like, dude, hey, Hales. You're like, Mac. And I was like, dude, what's going on? We had that little connection. And you're like, what are you doing? I was like, I was thinking about going and buying 10 on
10
cassette.
You like Pearl Jam too?
I was like, you like Pearl Jam?
Oh yeah.
And it was just one of those things.
That's what you were going. He was going to buy it.
I was going to buy 10.
but
I didn't.
we were-
Okay, pause. When you're serving a mission, you're not allowed to listen to what they call Gentile music.
The Mormon Missionary Handbook states, avoid watching television, viewing unauthorized video cassettes, and listening to the radio and unauthorized audio cassettes.
Does any music outside of LDS?
It's just
Endorsed
the
or-
standard
Yeah.
standard music, you know, totally fine. But by I think at this point I'd been out for like maybe 8 months,
Yeah.
and I was just like, fuck it, I need 10. I want to listen. I want to listen to that album. I want to feel like home. I'm from Seattle. I wanted to just feel like home, and so you're like, dude, let's go. And I was like, splits.
Because 10 for me, that was probably my all-time favorite CD all throughout high school, and that's ultimately what.
Well, there was that
connection.
there was that little connection right there with Pearl Jam, and so this is. I fucking love Pearl Jam. So, anyways, this is why. So you and I, that's how we met.
Okay,
we
so-
spent that day going and buying that tape. And
Where were you serving at that point?
Doncaster.
I was with Ridge and Deer.
Not then.
I think so. Or had I just? No, that's right.
I got a picture of it. This is the picture of us standing in front of the giant statue with the guest
Yeah,
girl.
I think I just.
We
come
haven't
back
really.
from
I think we've alluded to
Florida.
it, but we haven't really stated. We
Where
all
did we
went
serve?
to Australia. We
Melbourne,
went to
Australia was our mission.
Victoria was our mission. The state of Victoria, and Tasmania in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
So, fast forward, a
So-
month or two? When did you go with Dridge in Deer Valley?
Yeah, so I had been out 4 months at that point. I got with Dridge. 5 months. 5 months.
Okay, so you
with
come out to
Dridge.
Deer Valley where I was already with Fox
Yep.
in Melton.
And
so I can't say I remember the exact moment, the day or anything.
oh
that we
no,
met,
I remember.
but we were just always having.
I don't think I've
sleepovers
ever
and
heard
stuff.
the story of how you guys met.
because my experience I had just come from was working. I mean, there was this working at a level missionary like.
Explain it to them. Explain it to the people.
If you
Tell the people watching.
So
you
this
can't-
is the average, right? The average,
average what?
just the average work ethic of anybody.
They don't know what the work.
Tell
they don't know
them
what the work is.
what you're talking about.
Especially a 19
As a missionary.
What's
Yeah,
the work?
yeah.
What is being ZAM? What does it mean if you're
So
doing all the work?
as a Mormon missionary, what you get in this missionary training center is a little white Bible, and the white Bible is a list of do's and don'ts along with policy and a lot of that.
It's the
But
missionary
so
handbook.
you've got your rules,
The
but
standard of
also,
missionary
but
work.
also as a missionary,
Yeah.
you do certain kinds of work. You go tracting, which is door knocking. You go and talk to people on the streets and GQ, general questioning.
Oh my
No,
god.
the golden
The
question.
last thing.
So there's all this stuff that
19-year-old
you're
wants to be
supposed to
doing.
do as a missionary, and so when when you're talking about the average or above average, it's just doing all those things that you're taught to
if we can
do
if
on
this,
your mission.
If this is the average missionary, if we can just get this much effort out of them, I mean, this is how much we're going to grow. But
It was not.
Zam is like this much higher.
And Sean,
Average, right? I mean, that was the one thing that Stolten is was our mission president,
John B.
John B. Stolten. So what John B. had told me, he says,
Who's
over
John B.?
Hales, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
President Stolten.
who's
Our-
President
our-
Stolten,
our mission
President
president.
Stolten of the United States of America or Australia?
Of the Australia Melbourne.
No, yeah,
mission.
he was of the Australia. Well, there's a different one. We'll talk about him later.
He ran our mission.
He was the guy that was older. President of the mission serves for 3 years. They take their family with them. They move to the country, the location, and they dedicate 3 years of service, and they're in control of the knuckleheads
their
like
dime.
us.
On
They
their dime.
run the mission.
And they pay for it. These guys are paying on their own penny to be out serving as mission presidents, And John B was class act. He was just genuine, a good guy. I remember in Tasmania, we would go to the Salamanca markets on Saturday mornings, and it was the first time he had come down for a zone conference. The first time I'd seen him since coming to Australia in October, the end of October, and everybody loved him, but I didn't know him. And I remember he walked up to me and we were at the markets, and this was in this is December of 1993. So it was, what is that, springtime in Australia? And he said, "How you doing?" I said, "I'm good." And I told him my feet were cold. I said, "My toes are cold." He's like, "Oh, really?" I said, "Yeah." And he left and came back a couple minutes later, and he had bought me a pair of socks, like a thick pair of wool socks.
I'll never forget John B.
So,
Just a good guy. Good guy.
So I just remember growing up and hearing guys that had come home from their missions. So you come home, you have what we call a homecoming, and that's where that Sunday you sort of speak in church and sort of
You're back from your 24 months of serving a full-time mission.
So I just remember growing up and guys coming home from their mission and talking about how their mission president was this second father to them. It was a father figure out the mission. That was John B. to me.
Yeah.
He was he lived up to that vision I had in my mind of what a mission president was that I had been hearing about my whole life.
Even if you screwed up, even if you made a mistake, he was cool. He didn't make you feel like shit for it. He didn't make you feel like you were like a sinner. He forgave. He taught you to just love yourself.
In fact, he was the first one, and this is kind of, I guess, and this is what I'll come back to eventually in my story, but one of the many pivot points in my life, this was a pivot point in my life with what he told me at the interview as you're coming in as a 19-year-old missionary who thought that, you know...
You knew everything.
You thought you knew everything, and you get to Australia, well, any mission, whether it's a stateside mission or a foreign country mission, it was a little intimidating. You realize that you didn't know everything at that point, right?
Weren't you gonna say what he said to you? You said, "I remember."
But ultimately, what he said to me was, the balance, or the secret of a mission is to find a balance. He said, "I'm not going to explain what that is."
Kristen Carmack knew what balance was.
Do you know what I remember him saying to me?
"Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you?"
"You're going to Maui." And I thought, what the hell is Maui?
Right,
I came across the world
that sounds
to
forward.
Australia to go to a place called... Actually, no.
How
it went down.
Maui?
No, how it went down is he's like, "You're going here," and he pointed to it on a map, and I looked at it and I was like, "Mo?"
Mo, yeah.
That was the
This is the guy that lives in Thule, Utah.
Tooele.
Tooele.
Which is not Thule. How would you spell Thule?
And is
Not
Moe?
Yeah. Mo. How do you spell Mo? M-O-E.
How do you spell Tooele?
No, but Maui.
T-U-W-I.
Tooele has nothing to do with it. Mo is M-O-E. And so I read it and I said, Mo? I was like, I came to Australia to go to a place called
You said
Mo.
that to him?
No, I thought this was intermodal.
I was going to say.
You're already questioning.
You're already a dick. He came out with a chip on his shoulder.
Boy, that's what I remember him saying.
You didn't get intimidated at this point?
All right.
They told me to go upstairs and hang out.
We'll do an episode on John B. We'll also do an episode on D. Earl. We'll get to that. How did we meet?
So we met first.
Yeah.
So
you just told that story.
We got
didn't
into
you?
that.
Well,
we started it, and then you got us sidetracked. That's normal. So he came out and became companions with Dridge in Deer Valley, and Dridge was our zone.
Dridge was our. You're gonna meet Dridge.
And he was kind of the reason why a lot of us got together, because I was his.
So we got to explain. So within your mission, it's broken up into zones and then districts and then areas. So Dridge was the zone leader, and he came out.
That's awesome.
That he was his own leader. Well, no, I mean, no.
Why was
I didn't know that Dridge was his own leader.
He-
Dridge was his own leader?
Yeah, he was our zone leader, and so he came out to be his companion.
And mind you,
so this is how he got on this, because he was used to being average. And out in Deer
no,
Valley,
with my-
and in that zone, we were having sleepovers. we were. No,
No.
I'd been out at this point probably 6 months, maybe. And
Did you hear what he just said? Those of you that are watching this, these were missionaries that were, hanging out, sleeping over at the other guy's flats.
yeah, so we just get together and hang out.
You're not supposed to do that, but that was at the very beginning of your mission.
One thing leading into that is that when you go on your mission, you're paired with what we call a companion, and you're with your companion and no one else 24/7.
You have to sleep in the same room as your companion.
So no matter if you love your companion or hate your companion,
you're stuck.
It's nice to get out around other people besides just your companion. So
because
we did that a lot.
You're thrust into a marriage that.
Well, that was like when
that-
you and I met the first time. We went on what they called splits, and my companion went with his companion, and we went and bought a Pearl Jam tape.
So we were we were having sleepovers and everything, and so that's how like I said, I don't remember the exact day or anything, but that's how we met.
No,
because
it was like my first. I think it was my first weekend that I was there. That's where Dridge is like, oh, by the way, we've got the zone coming over for a sleepover. That's,
and
Wait, we're not supposed to do that. What's going on?
we were having sleepovers everywhere.
We're not
too.
supposed to do that.
we
How
would
are you
switch
having
up wherever we were having
sleepovers
sleepovers.
with?
We had sleepovers with sister missionaries at a members' home on
Hey, but
Christmas
we're not talking
Eve.
about that. We're talking about how we met.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying that, like, this is what I'm talking about. You think you're going on a mission and you're going to live by what Sean was talking about, that white handbook, that Bible, where you're like they want you to fucking keep the rules, but yet you get out there, and as soon as you're out there, you're with guys. Dridge was my first companion.
Not just guys. I mean, boys transitioning to guys at 19.
You're with like these
right?
other 19-year-old
You're-
guys that are breaking the rules, and I remember coming out and seeing that and being like, wow. And maybe I was just too much of a greenie. Maybe I was too, I don't know. Like, I'd been taught.
I was already so much spirit of the law
Yeah.
than letter of the law that it was like, yeah, let's have a sleepover.
I mean, I wasn't fighting it, but
No, I
it
know,
was
but
totally against the rules. And from the very beginning of our missions, that's what we saw.
So-
was shit that was against the rules, and we were like, okay, let's justify the balance that you're talking about. That Stolten, I believe that Stolten was talking about a little bit of balance.
Work hard, play harder. Right?
Maybe not.
Well,
I mean, no,
Is he alive? Is John?
Yeah, I
is
think
John
he is.
alive?
Yeah, he is.
so that's how he and I started getting so close, is because we had that.
You guys
Thing
were
going
spending
on
the
in
night at
our
each
zone.
other's houses.
Yeah.
We were hanging
Yeah,
out all
it
the
was
time.
Like,
Yeah,
it was like the
so
fraternity.
So you guys were hanging out, getting to know each other.
Yeah.
yeah, we were just hanging out all the time. So we just grew a natural friendship relationship because we were just hanging out all the time. So we had gotten to be pretty tight, and then come Christmas time is when we had the mission-wide Christmas conference.
So, mission-wide Christmas conference. What we're told, the flyer said, hey, come to this mission conference. Everybody's going to be there except Tasmania. There was this big mission conference, and here was what was going on. A general authority from the church was coming to speak to all of us at this mission conference for Christmas time. And man, I don't think we could get there fast enough. We wanted to hear what this general authority was going to say to the.
It was
share
kind of
with the
an
mission.
exciting time because we'd just gotten, we hadn't had Hearst for that long, right?
It was Christmas time.
So Hearst, backtrack a little bit. John B. Stolten was our first mission president.
He leaves.
His 3 years got over and he left, and then we got a new mission president
We'll talk about Hearst later on.
So, but we hadn't had him for very long at this point.
And he
right?
came out in June of 1994.
Oh, so it was a little while. Yeah.
He came out in June of 1994, but it was our first one. But the big thing was we were getting one of the like big ups from the church, the member of the second quorum of the 70. But he was
kind of big.
He was in, and I don't mean to say that with any kind of like second quorum of the 70. I mean, but he was in the presidency over the South Pacific.
Yeah. So we were all kind of excited.
I'm going to make this point. He wasn't the president.
No.
He was a counselor, but he was in. And so we were thinking, here comes a general authority on Christmas time. And to make it even cooler than that, they said, we're going to have fun. And what we want, every district needs to come up with a skit. And we're going to have...
We didn't come up with a skit, though. We didn't do one.
Well, it's because you guys didn't do what you were supposed to do.
So this is, like you said, everyone in the mission, we meet up at this chapel.
Stake Center.
And...
Y'all know what that means.
So Sean and I are sitting together. And, we're just hanging out. And all of a sudden this guy is up there being the MC and making us all laugh. And I nudge him like, who the hell is this guy? He's like, that's
Mac.
That's Mac.
McKinley.
You don't know Mac? I was like, no. Because I'd been in Australia. I'd been out bush my whole mission up until this point and beyond. I'd been outside, so I didn't get to see a lot of missionaries. Because it was usually...
the bush is like country.
So it was like me and my companion, and then maybe a few in my district or zone. So at the most, like 10, 12 missionaries at a time. So now I'm in, and I'm seeing this guy, and cracking me up. I was like, who is that guy? He's like, oh, that's Mac. You don't know Mac? I was like, no. He's like, oh, I'll introduce you. So now we can backtrack to how you became MC.
Oh, no. I mean, our mission president was from Texas. He had a really...
So they had us do all these skits, but then they also wanted somebody just running the show, and that was you.
Well,
how did you get asked to do that?
Miller called me up, the assistants. So there's two missionaries that become the assistants to the president. They work side by side with the mission president, and they're kind of his little
lackeys.
Yeah, henchmen, lackeys. Come on.
They just work close. They just worked hand in hand with the mission president.
And so I had his accent down. He was from Texas, and everything went well. And he coughed all the time. And
but along with being the MC though, because that's how I saw you first.
Well, I'm telling you how I became the MC. Miller called and said, "Hey, we want you to be the MC for the mission conference." And I was like, "Okay, that's cool." And he goes, "But it's on one condition." I said, "What's that?" And he said, "You have to do your President Hearst impression." I was like, "Done." I would call sister missionaries and tell them that they were being transferred. I called up, God, who was it? I think it was Snow. It was either Snow. No, it was Rebecca Gorley. I called Rebecca Gorley up as President Hearst. She had just gotten to serve with Sister Rebecca Smith, whose brother is the drummer for Royal Bliss.
Oh, yeah.
She had she'd been wanting to serve with her ever since.
I don't know that I ever knew that.
Oh, yeah. You didn't know that? Yeah.
I don't remember.
Rebecca Smith's brother is the drummer for Royal Bliss. So she was like in like the best place. You remember how much you wanted to serve with me? Remember how much we all wanted to serve together? Yeah. That was her with Smith. And so she'd just gotten transferred to her, and I called her up, and I pretended to be Hearst. I was like, "Well, hello, Sister Gorley."
This is like why you told her she was being
she was like,
with you.
"Hello, Prez. How you doing?" I was like, "Well, Sister Gorley, I'm great. How are you doing?" She's like, "Prez, I'm so happy, and I'm with Sister Smith." I was like, "Well, Sister Smith, that's great." I was like, "But we're gonna transfer you." And she's like, "Okay." And I go, Sister Gorley, we're gonna try something new. And do you believe in me? Do you have faith? And she was like, "I do, Prez." And she's like, "Okay, great." President Hearst said great a lot.
A lot.
And I was like, "So, Sister Gorley, what we're going to do is we're going to put you with Elder McKinley." It was just dead. Silent. It was just dead silent.
For those not familiar, there are no elder sister crossover whatsoever. I mean, completely on the other side and way down the road from appropriate.
So, Gorley, if you're watching, I think you're great. Anyways, I did this. I even called the APs.
Impression.
I could even call the APs up, and they thought it was Prez. I got white once.
So,
anyways,
they knew about
I'm the
your
MC.
impression.
I'm the
They asked you to be
MC.
the MC.
I'm the MC.
This happens.
We
But-
did our sketch
But
was.
then, that's what I was just going to go to next. So then, not only you're getting us cracking up as the MC, but then you do your sketch. That's what sort of for those of us in the know, the underground. We knew what was going on, and I'll let you explain it. But
Gosh.
you do your,
Was this the how they
it
do
was
transfers?
the transfer meeting. The transfer meeting where all of us.
So there's a general authority in the audience. And my district, I was the district leader with JJ, Cuthers, and Gorley. And we did a mock transfer.
So transfer meeting. So every month they would have transfers, and so missionaries would be moved all over the area in different places. So the APs would meet with the mission president and have a transfer meeting to determine where people were getting sent.
And one of the things that they
did this
tell
skit
you,
based on a transfer meeting.
one of the things they tell you is that it's inspired.
They prayed.
They pray about it, and these
pondered.
transfers, me getting transferred to
This-
serve
this
with
is where-
Sean
this is
Hales,
where God
come back in the
wants
frame.
you- this is where God wants you specifically.
When we got put together as companions, it was because God wanted it to
Yeah,
happen,
yes.
because it was an inspired transfer meeting. So we just did a sketch about a transfer meeting, and we were a little irreverent.
A little irreverent, and everybody laughed and thought
Everybody was laughing
in
because
good
it was
fun.
funny.
Everyone thought it was in good fun, except for those of us who knew that it was actually making fun of the
Calling
mission
out some
president and the APs.
bullshit.
And that's really what had us rolling.
So it was just this kind of like, we did this sketch, just kind of like calling out the stuff that we were seeing, and just so happened to do it in front of a general authority and the rest of the entire mission except for Tasmania.
So we just everyone thought it was hilarious. So
And
then
that's how we met.
So that was what early. What was
That was
the-
94.
I know, but what part of December was it?
Probably like December
Like middle-ish?
17th, 18th.
Yeah.
Okay, so then fast.
It was
forward.
like right before Christmas.
So now I'm in Sunbury at this point with Chad.
Oh,
Who Chad was another one of his.
Chad was my boy. Chad
Yeah,
was
from
one of my
earlier.
best friends. Chad.
So we were
Was
companions.
he there during that? He was, huh?
Well, I don't remember him there. I must have been with him at that time. I had to be with him.
Wait,
because
that was where Sunbury?
yeah, that was when Chad and I
December
were
of
in-
1994.
That
Go
was
back,
when
look
Chad
in your
had-
journal, post a picture of like.
So that next week on the 1st of January, on New Year's Day, he came out with Higgins, right?
Oh yeah.
And you
Because
and Higgins-
him and Chad
Heidelberg.
were so tight. Him and Chad were so tight. So they came out to hang out with us on New Year's Day from wherever the hell they were.
Well, I was in Geelong
They came out to hang out with us on New Year's.
New Year's 1995.
And he walks in and he says,
Whose Nikki Taylor calendar is that?
I said, that's mine. He was like, I have the same one back at my flat. And it was just that quick.
That scene from Step Brothers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like instant. Like
The
going to get 10. Is that it was that soul's recognition of the other soul and being like, I see you.
Yeah.
I
It-
fucking
it's
see
crazy.
you and I see you.
It was crazy. So then after that, he would call to talk to Chad, and we just ended. How do we do
that's
that?
an episode.
Speakerphone or
no? That was
We-
phone.
we
telephone.
just passed
You guys
the
would
phone
pass
back and
off.
forth.
Anyways, we'll get to the phone
So
list.
anyway, so
We'll
that's
get to
how
the
that's how.
phones.
So you two met, and then we met, and then we met because
Yeah.
of that.
And that's
connection.
how the underground began. For those of for the you're still here, you're watching. We appreciate it.
You'll meet the other members, by the way. There's two
The
of
the
them.
point isn't for us to just be sitting here telling mission stories and having you guys watch or telling stories about what 2000 was like or what 2013 was like. We've been best friends ever since then. The point of this is that we all shifted from what we were told to believe to finding something that has brought us closer to spirituality, to God.
Well, and I think it's important to note that the reason we go into these stories is because we're building up the base of where we were amongst the organized religion that we were in. And so that's an important part of the story in terms of where we want to go moving forward and talking about this transition, which is the whole point of
and
this
really
podcast.
being able to pull yourself out of
Right.
that
To be
I don't want to
somebody
say
else
control,
might relate
but
to it
almost,
because
almost
of
like control, right? It's like watching The Village with Nicole Kidman, and you realize that what's on the other side of that fence is not. Right.
Nicole Kidman was not in The Village.
No, who was it?
Bryce Dallas Howard. So you're thinking of.
Yeah.
She's redhead, so we're gonna
right,
give
all
him.
right.
We're gonna give him a point for that. She is a redhead.
Whoever it
The
was,
Village.
right? Whoever it was. No, I'm just. But the point was made that what was on the other side was always portrayed as big, bad, and scary, right? But then when you are able to pull yourself away from this and realize
We've transitioned. We've emerged. We surfaced,
yeah.
and all of our being was enlightened.
We've had a lot of different experiences, both good and bad, and we've made it here. So that's kind of the point. If there's somebody out there that feels that way, there's another side to it all, and it's great. So looking forward, what we're wanting to do, we're going to build off of this, and we're going to get into those conversations. But over the next few weeks, we're going to, in the next few shows, we're going to go through each one of us individually and talk about
What our transition
was, because like you said earlier, it was different for all of us. We're in kind of the same but different places now, and so
it's crazy. I feel like we're in more of the same place now. I feel like we're more deeper connected to God now.
Yeah, for sure.
We have a deeper appreciation of what real spirituality means to us from our perspective, from our journey and what we've been through. And what we want to do is just talk about that. We're going to bring people on. We want to get this to a place where this becomes a live event and people can talk and people can share. Again, we want to state this very clearly. This is not an attack on any organized religion. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the faith of our youth. So if you are wanting to come to this with a place of fighting and fear, this isn't the podcast for you. This isn't something that you should watch. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
If you want to come to this from a place of going, God, I can fucking relate to that. And if this helps somebody do that, to be able to relate to it, to be able to start just being able to kind of, there's a line to a song from one of my favorite bands where Eddie is talking in Given to Fly. Given to Fly by Pearl Jam. There's a line in it that I just hear over and over and over and over. And part of it is because, and this is something I shared with my dad. I told him, he kept saying, why do you want to promote this stuff? Why do you want to talk about this stuff? And I said, because I was taught from an early age to speak truth, to teach truth. And so this to me, if I was willing to devote 21 months to going out and speaking and teaching truth of what I was told to believe, how much more passionate am I going to be when it's something I've really found, something I've really discovered to be true.
Something you actually have a belief in.
Something I believe.
Something that's based on your own beliefs as opposed to other people.
And the line from Given to Fly by Pearl Jam, which you've got tattooed on your arm, portions of the song. He says he floated back down because he wanted to share his keys to the locks on the chains that he found everywhere. That's the point of this podcast. It's not to hurt people. It's not to make people feel upset. If you're watching this and you're angry, then don't watch it. But if you're watching this and you're going, That's it. That's what we want to do is we want to help people who are locked up in these chains of thoughts that they've been told to believe, and you're finding something different. If you're finding something different, then this is going to be something you're going to want to watch. We're going to share our experiences. We're just three guys that were kids that grew up and were told to do something and we did it. And in that journey that we went on, we found friendship and we found who we really are. And I know there's other people out there that are on that same path and in that journey. And that's why I'm doing this. And that's who we want to reach. And if you're watching this angry, again, don't watch it.
Yeah, that's not what this is about. So over the weeks to come, months to come, what we're looking to do is in the next few episodes, we'll focus on one of our stories. So that'll be the next 3 episodes, is just
our transition,
talking about our specific transition between organized religion and out of it. So we'll go through that, and probably immediately after that we'll have the mission story that we've been talking about so much. That's sort of what we're looking for in terms of what we want to cover in the next few episodes. But this is all leading up to more of a ongoing conversation about what it's like to go through that transition, how we dealt with it, the kind of things that we had to deal with, so that other people might relate to it.
So thanks for watching. We appreciate it.
Hopefully it was a little fun. We're talking about a serious subject when you get to it, but we're not serious people. So hopefully
we are. We can be
now,
serious.
right?
We can be real. We're gonna
Right
get
now,
real.
it
We're
makes it a little stiff,
Look,
too.
all I'm saying is hopefully it's fun and there's a lot of energy, and at the same time there's a serious purpose behind it.
For
I
sure.
think there's gonna be some healing that's gonna go on personally. Like I feel like this is gonna be a form of me being able to share things that I've never spoken out loud before. We're going to introduce you to some of our closest friends. We're going to introduce you to wives. We're going to talk. We're going to share stories.
And we want your comments and thoughts, and that can certainly give us ideas of what to do, as far as topics go moving forward. So, yeah, again, thanks for watching, and we're looking forward to this hopefully going for a while, and hopefully somebody gets something out of it besides us. But even if that's the case, that's cool too. So,
It's worth it.
thanks everybody.
Cheers.
Mine's empty.
There you go.
Thanks for watching.